Okay, what are you saying, people, and happy new year. But like always, we've got another weekly analysis now on the screen of the 10 pairs we'll be looking at today. But before we get into that, make sure you subscribe to the channel and also leave a like on the video if you're feeling generous. If you haven't already, make sure you follow me on my Telegram channel. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. So I post a lot of different trading setups there throughout the week, and you don't want to be missing out on that. And also make sure you follow me on my Instagram account. I'll leave the handle there. But you post a lot of different trading setups, tips and tricks, just general advice for you to become a better Forex trader. So make sure you check all of that out. Links will be in the description. But like I said, we've got another weekly analysis, so let me stop talking and let's get into the video. First up, we've got Euro USD. Okay, so for Euro USD on the daily chart, we did see that push to the upside this week as expected. As you can see, we did hold this previous area of daily resistance turned daily support. Now we were saying last week that as long as we hold this area, we probably expect another push to the upside to back to the highs previously made of Euro USD back here, or maybe even a higher high in the market. As you see, we did get that higher high, but however, just before the market closed this week, we did see this bearish engulfing candle here on Thursday. So we are looking a little bit bearish here. So you can see we did create those new highs, but then we closed right back below. So we're not really sustaining those highs there. So potentially you can see that momentum give us another push into this area of daily support. As you can see, support there will be turned support there as well. So I probably expect that momentum to continue us into this level. And if you get a break of this level, probably start to look very bearish at that point for Euro USD. And we do have this key level around 1.2 for Euro USD. As you can see, previous resistance across here. Again, this is our previous swing high, gave us that move to the downside, and again resistance here with that bearish candle there. So we've got resistance around 1.2, really key level, and I do think if you do break through this support here, that's where we're going for USD. As again, you can see we did have a really big push to the upside recently with this pair. Again, about 700 pips to the upside. So again, you do expect to see some retrace of those 700 pips to the upside. So I do expect to see some counter trend moves coming into the downside for USD soon, and I do expect potentially a move to 1.2 could be happening for USD if we do break through this support. But again, as long as price holds the support, again, we could probably expect another move to the upside. If we do get bullish price action here, probably expect another push to the upside. But again, you can see we are looking quite bearish there. You can see in the hourly as well, strong momentum coming to the downside. We do have a little bit of a trend line that price is currently testing on the hourly chart. As you can see here, there's the support. So again, we are testing that area, but again, we are looking very bearish. So I do think the momentum will take us to break through that trend line and take us into this area of daily support there. And again, if you do see a break of that, I do believe 1.2 is our next target for Euro USD. Next, we're going to take a look at USD JPY. Okay, so for USD JPY this week, we did see that move to the downside as expected. I did say last week that as long as we hold this previous area of daily support, turn daily resistance, I do believe we're going to see another swing to the downside around till 103. And we did see that move happen. As you can see, we come to test this level quite there. I was saying potentially can get new lows there, but you see we did hold that level. And we started to saw some strong bullish price action coming back on the 4-hourly chart. As you can see, we saw that move into the 103 level, and then you can see we start to see some impulsive bullish candles coming back to the highs there. So we are starting to look a little bit bullish on the 4-hourly time frame from this level, and potentially could see that continue next week and see another push to the upside back into that daily area of resistance. But again, we're still in that bearish, choppy downtrend here. With this trend line keeping us in that downtrend. Initially test there, second, third, fourth, and we're still expecting that fifth test. But again, we still need to break that daily resistance for us to go and get a test of that trend line. So again, I probably do expect another move back into the resistance for next week, as long as we do hold this support area in the market. Obviously, we're still in that bearish trend here, so price could break this support and create some new lows. That can still potentially happen, but I do think with the price action on the hourly chart, does look like we might hold this 103 level and see another push back into that previous area of daily resistance. And if you go and break it this time, I do think the next target is that trend line for a fifth test. So potentially for next week, expecting a move to the upside, at least into that daily resistance. And if you break through that, I do believe the daily trend line is our next target. And next we've got USD CAD. Okay, so for USD CAD this week, we did see price roll over to the downside. I was looking at this previous level of daily resistance, saying if we can get a hold of that level as daily support, we can potentially see price continue to the upside. As you can see previously, we did see that strong impulse move for USD CAD back into create some new highs there. And I was expecting some retrace and price to continue to this 1.3 level around here. Again, a really strong area of daily support. As you can see, support there, support. So a really strong area of daily support. We didn't quite get to it when we saw this impulsive move, so I do think we can have some retrace and price coming back into the area. But you can see we did get a break at that level and price roll back to the downside. So again, we're still in that bearish trend here, but I still believe we can see some push to the upside since we did break structure there when we saw this impulsive move. So again, as long as we hold this daily support, this daily low here, I do think we can see another push to the upside to go and test that 1.3 level. You can see we already had a bit of reaction on the hourly chart from this support, saw that engulfing candle there. So again, I do think the more potential setup is to the upside for USD CAD. Of course, we're still in that bearish trend. If we do break this this previous low, we can go a lot lower. Again, we're still in the bearish trend on the daily and the weekly charts here, but again, we did see that impulsive move, so I still think we're retracing and we're going to see another push to the upside for USD CAD back into that 1.3 level, then potentially roll over again to the downside from this level, because again, you can see it on the weekly chart here, really nice area of weekly support. So again, probably from a weekly point of view, you could see another push into that area to go and really test it as a resistance and see price continue in that bearish trend. So I do think we can see another push to the upside for USD CAD, again, as long as we hold this support. Break through the support, will probably create some new lows again, because again, this area will be turned now resistance, so potentially see price continue to the downside from then on. But again, as long as we hold that, we get some strong price action, I do believe we can see another swing to the upside this week back into 1.3 potentially. Up next is Euro GBP. Okay, so Euro GBP this week, we did see a nice push to the downside as expected. We did say last week during my weekly analysis that we do expect to see a break of this support area. You can see it acting as support all across here, tested numerous times. And when you see a level tested numerous times like that, you normally do expect it to eventually break. And you can also see we weren't really sustaining new highs either. You saw a nice push to the upside back into this area, failed to break it, came back down again. Another test into this area, failed to break it, came back down again. So again, it was showing signs that it couldn't really move higher. And again, we tested this numerous times. So again, expecting it to break. And as you can see on Thursday, we had that candle breaking through that support area. So now this daily support will now become daily resistance again. And I do expect price to continue to the downside for Euro GBP into this really strong area of support. So again, really strong area of support. You can see we've got a lot of momentum to the upside. Again, strong area, big push to the upside, and again another big push. So and again, if I drag that across as well, acting as support here, so a really key level of support in Euro GBP. I do think that's our next target for next week. Of course, we're probably going to see another push to the upside because we do need to retrace this bearish move that we had on Euro GBP. You can see it on the 4-hourly chart. We did see a really strong move to the downside. So again, you do expect to see some retrace of that move. Potentially you could see a retrace it into this area of previous support, term resistance now. But I do expect price to continue to the downside for GBP into this level here around 0.888. So I do think that's our next level for GBP. Okay, so up next we've got AUD USD. Okay, so for AUD USD this week, we did see another push to the upside. As you can see, we held this area of previous daily support, and you can see we held that area. And I said, as long as we hold this area of support, probably expect price to push back to the highs and probably create some new highs in the market. And you can see the market did exactly that. We did hold this support and we saw price continue to the upside. So again, we are still looking very bullish here. We're creating some new highs in the market. You can see Wednesday's candle, I believe, took us to the new highs, breaking through this area of resistance. So again, for next week, I'll probably expect price to retrace. You can really see the Thursday candle kind of pull back a little bit. So it's showing some signs of resistance. So we could see a move into this area of daily resistance, turn daily support potentially. But if you do hold that area, you can easily see price continue to the upside, because again, we're still in that bullish structure here. Price making those higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. So that can still continue on because we are in that bullish trend on the daily chart, on the weekly chart, and the monthly. So all the higher time frames are all showing signs of bullishness. So again, that can continue as long as it wants to. However, we have had a really strong move to the upside on the daily chart of about 740 pips of really no major counter trend moves or any retracement. So we can be seeing a deeper move to the downside soon. Again, we do have this really strong area here around 0.8 7.4, potentially you can see price come and test, but we need to see a break of this level here and a break of this level here to see that happen. So for next week, I do expect to see a push to downside into this level here at least, and if you do break through this level here, I do expect this level is our next target for AUSD for next week. Now let's take a look at NZD CAD. Okay, so for NZD CAD this week, we did see a push to the upside, creating some new highs in the market. I did say last week, probably expect to see price push up one more time, then see price fall off to the downside. But as you can see, we didn't really get that fall off. Price just broke through this resistance, kind of tested it, but broke through the resistance. And obviously the resistance didn't hold, and we saw price create some new highs here in the market. So all this area of previous daily resistance will be turned support here. So again, unless we get a false breakout of this resistance, we can expect price to continue to the upside for NZD CAD, because again, all of this area is now daily support, and you can see a really strong push to the downside. So it does have some strong momentum in this area of support. As long as price respects it, holds, you can easily see another push to the upside for NZD CAD. But again, on the other side, it could just be a false breakout, and you could start to see a push to the downside, and probably a really strong one, similar to the move we had here to the downside, probably back into the lows here. Because you can see here on the 4-hourly chart, we did see price kind of gain some bearish momentum towards the end. We still are respecting this trend line here in the market though. So again, we probably need to break out this trend line for that to really happen. But again, if this is a false breakout, probably expect that momentum to continue, break through the trend line, break through that support, and then give us a move into this level here in the market. But as long as we hold that trend line or hold this support, again, we could easily see prices continue higher, because we are in the bullish trend on the higher time frames, and the higher time frames normally win most of the time. So again, as long as we hold this support, price can continue a lot further. But this is a false breakout. I do expect this to be our next target for NZD CAD for next week. Next up, we've got GBP NZD. Okay, so for GBP NZD this week, not too much happened. Kind of prices are still consolidating above some, or below some resistance and above some support. So again, really strong area of daily resistance that I've been talking about for my weekly analysis. Now we are still holding that area. You can see support there, support, now turn resistance. You can see I had numerous wicks to the upside, and last week I did say we probably expect to see a move to the downside this week, and as you can see on the 4-hourly chart, we did see that move to the downside from that resistance to the downside there. We are still holding this support here though. We haven't quite tested it yet. As you can see, we kind of found some support just above it, and we saw that big push to the upside. So GBP kind of still consolidating really on the 4-hourly chart between that resistance and that support. Not really sure which way we could break out to. If we break out of that resistance, we do have this daily trend line potentially price can give a test of. So again, initial test here, second test there of the trend line, obviously a third test of this trend line. If you do get a break of that resistance, if you see a break of that support, probably expect this bearish trend to continue to the downside, give a test of the lows at least, or probably even create some new lows to the downside. But right now, GBP is just moving sideways. Hard to work out which way we could break to. Again, this is the stronger level, so potentially you could see a break to the downside, but again, price is just consolidating, so we don't know. But again, we do have targets to either side, so if price does break to the upside, we know potentially where price could go, that trend line there for a third test. And if we break through that support, probably expect price to go and test the lows again, or probably create some new lows, because we are in that bearish trend. Next, we're going to move on to CAD JPY. Okay, so for CAD JPY this week, we did see price just continue to the upside here. We did see a strong move to the downside. As you can see, previous area of, if I actually zoom out, you can see previous area of daily resistance. We tested it once up here. We saw a strong move to the downside. Our price is just slowly climbing to the upside, retracing. You can see on the 4-hourly chart, we're currently testing this previous area of 4-hourly support, now turn resistance here. So you can see support across there, turn resistance. So potentially from this area, we could see a move to the downside here and complete this pullback and see another push to the downside. But again, we could see price maybe climb back up higher. We do have this area here potentially price could climb to before seeing the move to the downside. That is still a possibility here. But on the daily chart, you can see we still have this range in the market here of support all the way down here. I do believe price is probably going to head to this area soon, and we're just seeing some retrace now before you see price continue to the downside. You can see on the weekly chart as well, we're still in this bearish trend here in the market. And if I do connect our trend lines up with the recent highs, so again, you can see initial test there, second, third, we had our fourth with this kind of evening star here in the market. I do expect to see a move to the downside for CAD JPY for a longer term, back to the lows here potentially. However, we do get a break of this resistance and this trend line, potentially could see a longer swing to the upside, maybe back to this level here in the market. That's still a possibility, but I do believe we can see another push to the downside. And until we break out of that resistance and that trend line, I still think the longer move is to the downside to this support area in the market here. As you can see, I'm just retracing now, and I do expect another push to the downside to happen this week for CAD JPY. Up next is GBP USD. Okay, so a GBP USD this week, we did see price kind of just retrace a little bit and just continue in that bullish trend. Last week I did say we'll probably expect more movement to the upside for GBP USD. We were trading at the highs here, and I did say we'll probably see a pullback even to this low here. We didn't quite get there. Price found support just before that, and we saw price just continue in that bullish trend. So again, we are looking very bullish now for GBP USD. We're breaking out that recent high, creating some new highs here, and of course this area of daily resistance will be turned daily support now. So we are looking bullish for GBP USD. I did say from a monthly point of view, we'll probably expect price to continue. You can see the monthly close here, creating some higher highs, breaking out that resistance. I was talking about this morning star pattern here, the bearish candle, the doji, and then the bullish candle. So I'm probably going to see a breakout of this resistance now, and you can see we did have that last month. So again, as long as this is not a false breakout in the monthly chart, I do believe from a monthly point of view this is our next target. But again, that's more long term. But for immediate target, we do have this trend line on GBP/USD on the daily chart here. So again, we do have, if I connect the lows of prices, again, this year test here, second, third, fourth, didn't quite get there with those wicks, but I do think we can see some deeper retracement to happen soon. But again, as long as price holds this structure here of previous daily resistance and daily support, we can always see price continue higher for GBP/USD, maybe even to the 1.38 level, all the way up there. So again, potentially could see price continue much higher if it wanted to, because from a monthly time frame, looks like we could see a push to the upside again this month potentially. Again, as long as it's not a false breakout, I do think the longer move is still to the upside. But if you do get back below this level, I do think potentially could see a deeper retrace back into the support here, then see price continue higher. But again, as long as we hold this level for next week, I do expect probably GBP/USD to give us another push to the upside for next week. And last, we've got GBP CAD. Okay, so GBP CAD this week, kind of saw price got rejected from some previous area of daily resistance. You can see all those wicks, but price has found some support and is still looking bullish actually for GBP CAD. We are still looking bullish on the daily time frame. Again, we still do have this resistance, and again, as long as price holds that resistance, you can probably see a longer move to the downside here. But again, I do think potentially could see a break of that resistance happen soon for GBP CAD. Again, if I draw this trend line here in the market, again, I connect all these wicks here, and price does look like we're getting a breakout of this trend line here. As you can see, the last day on Thursday this week, we did see price kind of close above that area, so we are looking a little bit bullish here. Again, potentially could be seeing a false break easily if we just see next week get some strong bearish candles coming back into this trend line. Again, we could easily see price continue to the downside, because again, we do still have that resistance that price still hasn't managed to broken through yet. So again, we still have this trend line holding in the market, but if we do see price hold this trend line now as support, could easily see price continue to the upside and a breakout to the upside potentially. Again, we do have resistance across here, and if price does get above it, again, probably see price continue to the upside. So my bias is for GBP CAD, we'll probably see a move to the upside here, but again, that's probably a bit more of a bolder statement since we do have the resistance there. So probably what could happen next week is we probably find some resistance here, see another push to the downside, maybe to go find some support. Again, previous resistance here will be turned support, so maybe a move back into this area potentially, and then we see price eventually go and break it and give us a push to the upside eventually. But again, more of a long-term target there. But I wouldn't be surprised next week if you do see it manage to see a break of that resistance and price continues higher. But again, have to trade what's in front of us. We do have still resistance there, and again, did see a lot of momentum come to the downside from that area, and we saw a move all the way into the lows here. So again, as long as we hold that area of resistance, probably going to see another push to the downside. But I won't be surprised if you do manage to get a break of that, and if that's the case, I probably do expect price to come back to the highs here where I started the trend line off there. So if we do see a break of that, I do expect that's our next target. But right now we are holding, and if we do hold, probably see another push to the downside for GBP CAD for next week. Okay, so that's the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed it and found it useful. If you did, make sure you leave a like on the video. If you have any questions or if you agree or disagree with my analysis, just put it in the comments below and I'll make sure I get back to you. But like I said, it's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Until the next one, I'll see you later.